Hi YouTube, it's Kathy and I'm here to talk to you about my very tentative plans for the Read-Eh-Thon, which is happening August 3rd through 9th. The Read-Eh-Thon is Canadian-based Read-A-Thon. I really love the title of this Read-A-Thon. I thought it was so funny the first time I heard it, and it's still funny to me. This Read-A-Thon comes with this beautiful bingo board full of challenges, and we all know by now that I love challenges. However, while researching books for this Read-A-Thon, I just came across a lot that I want to read and a lot more that I'm going to be able to read in that week. So this isn't really a TBR as much as books that I wish I could read this week, but we'll see which ones I actually get to. I happen to have 3 physical books with me that are Canadian, so I'm going to go over those, and then I'm going to tell you what I put aside on the digital reading app from my library, and basically those will be books that I'll be picking between based on what's available during the Read-A-Thon's time frame. One of the prompts is a Canadian children's book, and for this I'm probably going to read Anne of Green Gables. My grandparents got me this copy when we went to PEI back in 1997, and that's about the last time I read it, so I think it's time to pick it up again. While we were on that trip, we actually went to Montgomery's house, which is now a museum, or at least it was at the time. I assume it still is, and I got to walk around the woods that are heavily featured in the book, and I'm excited to revisit it. Something that could fit the something that's not a novel category is Michelle Remembers. This is a memoir of sorts about this woman who went to psychotherapy, and her psychotherapist was able to put her under hypnosis and find out that she had been abducted by a satanic sex cult. This happened back in the 80s. Actually, it didn't happen at all because this is purely made up and has been debunked. But I want to read it anyway because for many years apparently people believed this was accurate. And from my understanding, although I haven't researched it thoroughly yet, people lost their jobs in connection with this supposed sex cult that didn't actually happen. It is also my understanding that Michelle wrote it with her therapist, who then became her husband, which, ew. I only know about this because this case has come up a few times in Atomic Vaudeville sketches, and I just want to read the source material. The other Canadian book I happen to have with me is You Cant Catch Me by Catherine Mackenzie. This could go with nature on the cover because there is a tree there. I don't know much about this. I actually won this in a giveaway just before the pandemic started and haven't gotten around to reading it. But from my understanding, it's about a journalist who has been fired for plagiarism, and then there is some mystery aspect to it. If you know me, you know I don't like to know too much going into a book. As for the other books that I have to pick from, let's go to my MacLeod library app and see what I've saved on there. One of the books I have saved is Brown Girl in the Ring by Nalo Hopkinson. That could be for a queer story, that could be for a book by a black author. Most of these books will be set in provinces I've been to because I've been to 9 out of 10 of them, although I haven't been to any of the territories yet. I don't know anything about the plot of this one because I don't like to know the plot going in, but this is the favorite author of Jerry from Onyx Pages, and I trust her. So Nalo's been on my list for ages, and I just have to actually get around to reading her stuff. Another book on this list is Frying Plantain. This could be used again for black author. This could also be used for a Canadian publishing company because the publishing company is based in Toronto. And I'll just read the beginning of the blurb for you because again, I don't know anything. Set in the neighborhood known as Little Jamaica, Frying Plantain follows one young girl from elementary school to high school graduation as she navigates the tensions between mothers and daughters, second-generation immigrants and first-generation cultural expectations, and black identity and predominantly white society. Based on that description, this could also be anti-racist literature, but I would have to read it to find out. I also have The Break by Katharina Vermette, which from my understanding is Indigenous literature. It has also won a lot of awards, so it could go for that square as well. When Stella, a young Métis mother, looks out her window one evening and spots someone in trouble on the break, a barren field on an isolated strip of land outside her house, she calls the police to alert them to a possible crime. One of the children's librarians that I absolutely love at work actually recommended this to me ages ago, but I just haven't gotten around to reading it yet. This next one would have to do with Black Canadian history and is also something other than a novel, and that's They Call Me George, and it's the untold story of black train porters. Essentially, black men used to be porters on trains that crossed Canada. They wouldn't be paid for this, they would only be paid in tips, and racist white people would call all of them George rather than learn their names. We also have Washington Black, which was written by a novelist from my own city. When 2 English brothers arrive at a Barbados sugar plantation, they bring with them a darkness beyond what the slaves have already known. Washington Black, an 11-year-old field slave, is horrified to find himself chosen to live in the quarters of these 2 men. But the man is not as Washington expected him to be. His new master is eccentric Christopher Wilde, naturalist, explorer, inventor, and abolitionist, whose obsession to perfect a winged flying machine disturbs all who know him. That's an interesting premise. This one could also be used for anti-racist literature as well as a queer story, and that's We Have Always Been Here, a queer Muslim memoir. Just from skimming the synopsis, the author grew up in Pakistan, received regular threats from Islamic extremists, and then fled to Canada as a refugee. And I think that those are all the titles I've specifically put aside as options for this read-a-thon. There's also tons of time between now and then, so I could foresee myself wanting to read even more books. Out of all the books I mentioned here, which ones do you think I should read? Let me know about it down in the comments below. On the way down to the comments, if you hit that subscribe button, that would be very nice of you. If you don't feel like leaving a comment but want to make sure that I know you were here, just leave me an emoji or a smiley face if you're on your keyboard. Some people have asked me if there's a way to financially support me at this time, so I have a link to my Ko-fi account, which is a digital tipping service, down below, as well as the link to my PayPal and my Amazon wish list. You can like and share this as you see fit, and I will see you very soon. Bye!